So Bhadra, 5 short questions.
Yes.
What exactly has happened in Supreme Court now? What has the court said on AMU and minority status?
So basically today, a Supreme Court bench of 7 judges
It's a constitution bench.
It's a constitution bench, and by majority of 4:3, which means 4 judges have given a verdict together and 3 have not concurred with that opinion. They have given a dissenting opinion. So by 4:3, the Supreme Court has actually laid down the broad parameters or principles to determine lay down the broad parameters to determine a minority educational institution. So it has technically not as of now declared whether the Aligarh Muslim University is a minority or not, but it has only, as I said, laid down the principles, enunciated the points. And in doing so, what it actually has done is it has overturned its own verdict of 1968, which was delivered by a 5 judges bench in a case called the Aziz Basha case, where it was held that AMU is not a minority educational institution because it derives its character through a statute, which is a law. What it actually...
Central law.
Central law. So what Aziz Basha actually held was that since AMU is established through a central law, its legal character as a minority institution is diluted, because for an institution to be minority and consequently enjoy the benefits under Article 30 of the Constitution, an institution should not only be established but also be administered by a minority group, a minority community, or a linguistic community. So Article 30 actually protects minority and linguistic institutions. Article 30, subclause 1 very specifically says that all minorities, whether based on religion or language, shall have the right to establish and administer educational institutions of their choice.
So, as I understand, institution that is established under a central law or state law, any law, then the government has a say in its management, in its leadership, etc. Whereas if it was purely a minority institution, they will not have it. So
yes, they will not have a say when it comes to the administration bit.
Yes.
But yes, they will have a say when it comes to regulation bit.
Right.
Right? And regulation would mean like, UGC regulation, in the sense you will have guidelines for the for appointment of teachers, guidelines for intake of students. Those kind of guidelines can be given out by the government. But administration, as far as administration is concerned, the minority educational institution will have autonomy to do that.
Yeah. So today's order says that because AMU is currently running as a minority institution, it shall continue to run so.
That's right. As of now, AMU will continue to run as a minority institution for the simple reason that following the 1968 judgment in the Aziz Basha case, an amendment was brought in the AMU Act, as I just mentioned earlier, by the central government, in which what it actually did was it took away the basis and the rationale by which the Supreme Court in 1968 had said that no, it is not a minority institution. Interestingly, this 1981 amendment to the AMU Act was challenged in 2004 before the Allahabad High Court, when AMU went ahead and reserved 50% seats for Muslim students. This was challenged.
2004 is when UPA 1 comes to power.
That's right, yes.
So politically, it's a very important timing.
Yeah. And in 2006, the Allahabad High Court delivered a judgment where it struck down the amendment and said, no, AMU will continue to be a non-minority institution. It loses the minority status. This judgment was challenged in the Supreme Court. Interestingly, the UPA government, which was in power in the center at that time, it was one of the appellants before the Supreme Court. The AMU, as in the university, was also an appellant. And the AMU Old Boys Association was also an appellant. Now what happens is in 2016, the government changes in the center. BJP government comes to power.
So 2004, what happens? When this is challenged in Supreme Court, then what happens?
No, so when it is challenged in Supreme Court, the Supreme Court issues notice and imposes a stay on the Allahabad High Court judgment, which means that the minority character of AMU is restored. In 2016, when the government changes at the center, the BJP government decided to withdraw its appeal against the Allahabad High Court judgment. And it now became a opposition party, in the sense it was supporting the Allahabad High Court verdict.
So, which means that minority status of AMU should be taken away.
Should be taken away. That is what it had argued. So it basically became an AMU, which is Aligarh Muslim University, versus the central government in the Supreme Court, where the central government...
Whereas central government was with them earlier.
Yes.
Before the Modi era.
That's right.
Modi.
That's right. Yes.
So today's order has gone with the AMU.
For now, simply because the Supreme Court has not removed that stay which was imposed on the Allahabad High Court judgment. So for now, the AMU continues to be a minority institution. But the larger question on whether AMU is a minority institution or not is yet to be decided by another bench. This bench will take the basis which has been delivered today in this larger bench judgment. It will pick up the points from this judgment and then put it to the AMU case and decide whether AMU...
Because that will be a smaller bench than this one.
That's right. That will be a smaller bench. And that is exactly what the larger bench today has done.
So that way, what this bench has done will heavily influence what the other bench might do, although this is a 4:3 order.
Yes.
So judges can also draw their wisdom from dissenting orders in this case.
Not really, because since it's a 4:3 judgment, so the larger opinion, the majority opinion will prevail, and the bench which will take up the AMU matter is likely to be a 2-judges bench.
So AMU supporters of minority status can rejoice today?
For now, yes. For now, yes. Because, the crucial point which was actually laid down in the Aziz Basha judgment, which said that since there is a central legislation, and because there is a central legislation, an institution cannot have a minority character because the institution surrendered its minority status once it derived its power under a central law. That particular opinion or that particular principle has been overturned by this judge, by today's judgment.
So that's very important.
That's very important. But there are other factors that have been delineated in this judgment which would influence the future course of action in this case.
So thank you, Bhadra, for helping us understand this, because after all, 7 judges have had this argument and 4 have gone on one side, 3 on the other. So this is not a simple case.